Hey there, everyone. Today's deep dive is a little different.
Ooh, exciting.
It is, right? We're talking about, well, you, specifically if you happen to be born on the 15th of the month.
Okay.
Yeah, we're diving into the concept of life path number 15, as it's called in numerology.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, you know a little about it.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
the idea that your birth date can reveal stuff about you, right? Like your personality, your strengths.
Exactly. And maybe even like the paths you're most likely to take in life, the kinds of careers that might be a good fit.
Right, right.
Now, full disclaimer up front, we're not like fortune tellers here.
Of course, yeah.
This is more of a fun exploration, right?
Okay.
Taking a look at what this numerology stuff has to say about folks born on the 15th. But gotta say, some of the things we dug up in our research were pretty intriguing.
Like what?
Well, like, there's this whole connection to creativity, like 15s being super drawn to music, art, that kind of thing. And then there's this concept of karmic debt, which I'm definitely curious to unpack with you.
Whoa, karmic debt. That sounds intense. Okay, I'm in. Before we go any further, though, maybe we should break down how these life path numbers are actually calculated in numerology.
Yeah, good point. Honestly, I'm not a numerology whiz, so please enlighten me.
Sure, no problem. It's actually pretty simple.
Okay, good.
So let's say, just as an example, you were born on November 15th. So November's the 11th month, right?
Okay.
So you'd add 11 plus the date, 15 plus, let's say the year was 1985.
All right, so 11 plus 15 plus 1985.
Exactly. And then you'd break that down even further. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 5 plus 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 5.
Whoa, lots of adding.
Right. And in this case, all those numbers add up to 31. But you then reduce that further, 3 plus 1, which equals 4.
Okay, got it. So for that example, their life path number would be 4.
Exactly. But for people born on the 15th, it's not quite as simple as just reducing it down to a single digit.
Oh, so what makes the 15th different? What's special about it?
Well, in numerology, 15 is considered a master number.
Master number. I like the sound of that.
Right. So it's not reduced down to a single digit, like in our example.
Yeah.
It keeps its own special meaning.
Okay, so it's not just about the math. There's a whole deeper meaning tied to that specific number.
Exactly. Master numbers are thought to have, like, a stronger vibration, and they often point to a more intense life experience.
Intense, huh? Is that a good thing, a bad thing, or?
A bit of both, actually. Think of it this way. The 15 life path suggests a powerful combo of creativity, intuition, and a really strong desire for freedom.
So, like, these people are going to be out there living life on their own terms.
Totally. But with that intensity comes, a need for balance. Our source suggests that 15s might have to put in extra effort to create stability in their lives and also to manage their emotions, which can be pretty intense too.
Interesting. It's like they've got this high-powered engine, but need to learn how to handle all that energy.
A perfect analogy.
Yeah.
So yeah, based on this master number thing, what does being a life path 15 actually mean for a person? What kinds of personality traits are we talking about here?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. Give us the lowdown.
Well, the source we looked at describes 15s as being super charismatic and magnetic. It's like they have this natural ability to draw people and get them excited about their ideas.
So maybe they're the life of the party type, but maybe with a little more substance.
Absolutely. They've got that charisma, but they also have this well of creativity that runs deep. They might be drawn to the arts, music, writing, painting, that kind of thing. Or they might express their creativity in ways that are totally off the beaten path.
Oh, I like that unconventional creativity. What would that look like exactly? Give me some examples.
Okay, picture this. A chef who makes these edible masterpieces, like art you can actually eat. Or a computer programmer who designs, like, immersive virtual worlds. Or even an entrepreneur who comes up with this totally revolutionary idea that changes an entire industry.
Okay, now I see it. These aren't your typical follow the rules kind of people.
Nope. They push boundaries, shake things up. And that innovative spirit, that drive to create new things, it comes from their strong intuition.
Ah, so they're not just going off logic. They've got this gut feeling that guides them.
Exactly. They have a deep sense of knowing about people, situations, all sorts of things. And it helps them make decisions, even if they can't always explain it logically.
I can see how all of these traits could lead them toward those unconventional paths you mentioned.
Right. And tying it all together is this deep-seated desire for freedom. 15s need to feel independent, like they're in control of their own destiny. They don't like being boxed in by rules and expectations.
So if we're talking about career paths, we're probably looking at things like being an entrepreneur, a freelancer, an artist, right? People who make their own rules.
Exactly. They need flexibility and autonomy to really thrive. But that does make you wonder, With all this talk about freedom and pushing boundaries, does that mean they have trouble committing to things?
That's a great question. It makes sense, right? If you're always craving new experiences and pushing limits, the idea of settling down or sticking with one thing for too long, that might feel stifling, almost like a trap.
That's right. And it actually leads us to one of the potential downsides, one of the challenges that often comes with being a Life Path 15, that need for freedom. It can sometimes morph into a fear of commitment.
Ah, okay. So maybe it's not all sunshine and roses for these 15s. There's a shadow side to all this freedom-loving energy.
There's always a flip side, right?
Yeah.
Every life path, every personality type has its own unique set of challenges. The key is understanding what those potential pitfalls are and figuring out how to navigate them.
Okay, you've got me hooked. Let's dive into those challenges when we come back. What exactly are some of the potential downsides of being a Life Path 15?
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how a 15's need for freedom can sometimes turn into a fear of commitment.
Right, exactly. And it makes sense if you think about it.
It does, doesn't it?
If you're someone who thrives on new experiences, always pushing boundaries, the idea of settling down or sticking with one thing for too long, well,
It can feel like a trap, almost.
yeah, exactly. So how does this fear of commitment actually show up in a 15's life?
Well, it can manifest in different ways. For example, they might find themselves jumping from one job to another, never really feeling settled in any one place.
Oh, I see. Always chasing that next big thing.
Yeah, always looking for that next adventure.
Yeah.
They might also struggle with long-term romantic relationships.
Ah, yeah, makes sense. Commitment issues, right?
Right. Or, and this one might be a bit surprising,
Yeah.
they might even sabotage their own success.
Oh, wow. Why would they do that?
Well, because the responsibility that comes with success can feel overwhelming to a 15.
So it's not just about being flaky or indecisive. There's a deeper reason behind it.
Exactly. For a Life Path 15, this fear of commitment isn't always a conscious choice. It's often rooted in a subconscious desire to protect their sense of freedom.
To protect their autonomy.
Yes, their independence. So the question then becomes, how can a 15 overcome this fear?
Right. Is it even possible to find real, lasting fulfillment if you're constantly running from commitment?
That's where balance comes in. Remember how we talked about Life Path 15 being a master number?
Hmm.
It signifies heightened potential, but also a greater need for balance. For a 15, that means learning to integrate their need for freedom with their desire for connection and stability.
Right. So it's not about suppressing their adventurous side.
No, not at all. It's about finding ways to express that free spirit within a framework that supports their well-being.
I see. So practically speaking, what might that look like?
Well, it might mean finding a career that offers flexibility and autonomy, one that doesn't feel too rigid or confining.
Right, like entrepreneurship, freelancing, maybe even certain types of creative jobs.
Exactly. It could also involve choosing partners who understand and respect their need for space.
Ah, good point. Someone who's not going to try to control them or hold them back.
Right. And even just setting clear boundaries in their relationships to prevent feeling suffocated.
Okay, yeah. Communicating those needs openly and honestly.
Exactly. It's all about finding creative solutions that honor both sides of their nature.
Yeah.
The need for freedom and the desire for connection.
Gotcha. Now, earlier you mentioned that 15s might also face challenges related to their emotions. You used the phrase hidden emotional depth, I think.
Yes, exactly.
So while that sounds like a beautiful thing, I can also imagine it could be a bit of a burden at times.
You're absolutely right. Their emotional depth allows for deep connections and creative expression, but it can also lead to emotional turbulence.
Okay, so we're talking about like intense reactions, maybe mood swings, possibly even a tendency to get overwhelmed easily.
Precisely. It's like their emotional dial is always turned up to 11, which can be exhilarating, sure, but it can also be exhausting.
I can imagine it's like they're experiencing everything in high definition all the time.
Exactly. And that can make it harder to regulate their emotions and find a sense of peace.
So what's the solution? How can a 15 manage these intense emotions in a healthy way?
Well, it's about finding healthy outlets for all that energy, for one thing. And developing emotional intelligence is crucial too.
Emotional intelligence, huh? So being able to understand and manage their own emotions.
Right, and the emotions of others. It's also about learning coping mechanisms for stress.
Makes sense. So in addition to the fear of commitment, 15s might also struggle with emotional ups and downs. Are there any other potential downsides we should be aware of?
There's one more that's often mentioned in connection with Life Path 15. It's a tendency towards impractical ventures.
Impractical ventures. Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, think about all those amazing 15 traits we've discussed. Creativity, intuition, desire to make a difference, that adventurous spirit.
Yeah, definitely.
These qualities can lead to incredible breakthroughs and innovations, but they can also lead to what we might call impractical ventures if they're not balanced with a healthy dose of realism.
I see. So we're talking about chasing unrealistic dreams, perhaps, or pouring their energy into projects with little chance of success?
Exactly. They might get so caught up in their vision, so convinced of their intuition, that they overlook practical considerations.
Or fail to assess the risks involved?
Exactly. And this can lead to financial setbacks, disappointment, even a sense of disillusionment.
So it's not about discouraging ambition or telling them to play it safe.
No, not at all. It's about encouraging them to balance their big dreams with a solid foundation of planning and realistic assessment.
Right, finding that sweet spot. Okay, I'm starting to see the full picture here. We've talked about the potential of Life Path 15, the challenges, but what about the real-world applications? What kind of jobs or roles might allow a 15 to truly thrive? Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into career paths. We've been talking about all the unique traits and potential challenges of a Life Path 15, but what does all that mean when it comes to finding work that truly fits?
Well, I'm guessing it won't be a big surprise that artistic fields are right up there on the list.
Yeah, makes sense.
Their creativity, the way they feel things so deeply, that need to express themselves, it just naturally leads them towards music, writing, visual arts.
Or even those more offbeat, unconventional creative paths.
Exactly. A 9-to-5 desk job, that's just not going to cut it for a 15, right?
Definitely not. They need something that lets that creative energy flow.
Right, but it's not just about the arts. Our source also points to careers with a humanitarian focus.
Interesting. What makes those a good fit?
Think about their sensitivity, their intuition, how they want to make a real difference in the world.
I see where you're going with this.
Those qualities often make them feel drawn to things like social causes, wanting to help people make a positive impact.
So maybe we're talking activists, social workers, therapists, maybe even teachers or mentors.
Exactly. Careers where they can use their empathy and passion to make a difference.
Powerful stuff. Is there anything else that might be a surprising good fit for a 15?
Well, there is one more that might throw you for a loop. Entrepreneurship.
Oh, really? That's kind of unexpected, especially since we talked about, their potential fear of commitment and that tendency towards impractical ventures.
I know, right? That seems counterintuitive. But let's flip the script for a second and look at it from a different angle.
Okay, I'm listening.
Think about what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Creativity, a willingness to take risks, that drive to build something totally new.
And that desire to be in the driver's seat, calling the shots.
Precisely. A 15 isn't going to be content just following orders. They want to create their own thing, something that reflects their unique vision.
So we could be talking about like someone who starts their own art studio or launches a business that has a positive social impact or even invents something totally new that disrupts an entire industry.
Endless possibilities.
Yeah.
And of course, there's that whole independence and autonomy that entrepreneurship offers, which is super appealing to a 15.
Yeah, that freedom to do their own thing is huge for them.
Totally. Now, of course, they'd need to watch out for those pitfalls we talked about earlier.
Right. Finding that balance between dreaming big and having a realistic plan.
Exactly. And having strategies in place to manage those emotional ups and downs.
Okay, so before we wrap things up, there's one more thing I want to circle back to. That concept of karmic debt.
Ah, yes, that is a fascinating one.
It is. We mentioned it earlier, but I'd love to dig a little deeper into what that means, especially for a Life Path 15.
Sure. So, karmic debt, it's often tied to the idea of reincarnation.
Oh, like past lives and all that.
Exactly. The idea is that, unresolved issues or lessons from our past experiences, even from past lives, can influence the challenges we face in this lifetime.
So it's not about being punished for past mistakes, but more like having these opportunities to learn and grow.
Precisely. And for a Life Path 15, the source suggests that this karmic debt might have something to do with, that constant tug of war between their need for freedom and their desire for stability and connection.
Like maybe they have a subconscious fear of being trapped or limited, maybe because of something that happened in a past life where they felt their freedom was taken away.
That's one interpretation. And it could explain why they struggle with commitment or why they might self-sabotage when things start to feel too settled or predictable.
Like they're constantly trying to break free from these old patterns.
It's possible. And the really cool thing about understanding this concept of karmic debt is, well, it's empowering.
How so?
because it lets them see those challenges not as punishments, but as opportunities.
Opportunities for growth and transformation.
Exactly. It's about becoming aware of those patterns, figuring out where they might be coming from, and then making different choices.
Choices that align with their truest selves.
Yes. The journey of a life path 15, it often comes down to finding that balance between, that boundless need for freedom and the wisdom of creating a life that's both stable and fulfilling.
This has been such an insightful deep dive. We've uncovered so much about the potential, the challenges, all the complexities of being a 15.
Then honestly, we've just scratched the surface.
Right. There's a whole universe of numerology and personality stuff out there for anyone who wants to learn more.
It's a rabbit hole for sure.
So if any of this resonated with you, keep exploring. Read up on different interpretations of Life Path 15, see what speaks to you, and most importantly, take some time to reflect on your own experiences and see how these patterns show up in your life.
It's all about self-discovery, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us on this journey of self-discovery, and until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep embracing all the unique beauty of your own life path.